Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's meeting. If you can all please rise and join me in the flag salute.
I'm sorry, Mayor, if I could clarify, we're calling the regular city council meeting and the special successor agency meeting to order.
Oh, my apologies. I now call the city council and the successor agency meeting to order. If you can all please rise. Right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, and I'll be calling the roll for both the city council and the successor agency. Mayor Chair Ibarra,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Here.
Member Larios.
Here.
Member Merlot.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the city council and successor agency agendas?
I'll move.
Move.
Lopez.
Second.
With the motion from Councilmember Lopez and the second from Mayor Pro Tem Davis, city clerk?
Yes, to approve the regular city council meeting agenda and the special successor agency meeting agenda, I'll call the roll. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Chair Ibarra, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Larios.
Yeah.
Member Merlot.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now take public comment for both the city council and successor agencies. If you'd like to provide a comment through Zoom, please click the raise hand button. Are there any public comment at this time? How about on Zoom?
Nothing on Zoom.
Seeing that there isn't any public comment at this time, we'll now recess the city council meeting to consider the successor agency agenda. And it is 9:03. We're now back on the city council meeting at 9:07. We'll now go on to presentations. Agenda number 1 is the Employee Service Pin Awards for February 2022. Human Resources Director Earl will represent the item.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the City Council. During the month of February, we had 2 employees achieve service milestones with the city. I believe we have one of them present in the audience this morning. We'd like to recognize Victor A. Vasquez Jr. for his 20 years of service. Victor, if you could come up. Victor was hired as a utility man 4 in the Public Works Department on February 24th, 2002. He then held the title of street maintenance worker beginning April 20th, 2014, and was promoted to street maintenance worker lead on August 29th, 2021. Please join me in congratulating Victor A. Vasquez on his 20 years of service to the city of Vernon.
In person?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, now we're on to agenda item number 2, the fiscal year 2020-2021 government-wide audit financial results. Finance Director Williams will present the item.
Yes, good morning again. This time, Honorable Mayor and Honorable members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present for the Council's evaluation the fiscal year 2020-2021 government-wide audited financial results. So a couple of weeks back, because of timing, we brought forward Light and Power, and that was corresponding to the bond issuance. But at this time, it's all citywide financials. Now, at this time of year, each year, the audits are performed in accordance with what we call GASB, that's Government Accounting Standards Board. And so it adheres to that. And the city charter requires the council to appoint a certified public accounting firm to provide an independent annual audit. So this is an outside organization, a dispassionate voice to provide an opinion on the city's financial position and the audited financials. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city's contracted audit firm, Clifton Larson Allen, and Bob Callanan via Zoom.
Good morning, City Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is the second year of the firm CLA and myself performing the audit of the city's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2021. And I'm here to present our report card, if you will, on the results of our audit process. And I'll start off with the most important thing is that our independent auditor's report is what we call an unmodified opinion. That's the highest form of opinion that we can provide when performing our audited services. So that's the first check mark off is that it's an unmodified opinion. So that just means that your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in relation to generally accepted accounting principles for city governments. So that's good news. During the course of us performing our audit, we do look at internal controls and try to gain an understanding of them as well as compliance matters. And nothing in our audit procedures, nothing came to our attention that there was material non-compliance or material weaknesses in internal control. So that's also good news. Not to say that those things could be there because we're not doing, our focus wasn't on that, but nothing came to our attention during our regular audit procedures that would lead to indications, because if there were, we would have to pursue those. So that's good news. Just wanted to make aware that your financial statements do contain some estimates, and your significant estimates in your financial statements really have to do with the net pension liabilities related to the CalPERS pension defined benefit pension plans, as well as the city's other post-employment retirement benefit plan. Those are estimates, and there's a lot of disclosure in the notes that you can look at to understand how those estimates were derived. We did look at those estimates and made sure that the city was consistently applying the methodology for estimates, and nothing they were the same as in the prior years. It was a consistent application of the estimates. We did not come across any significant unusual transactions. We encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management, and they pretty much provided us access and information as we needed it for our audit. So there was no inhibitions in regard to that. As far as uncorrected misstatements, we did not have any uncorrected misstatements to report to you. And we had a few minor audit adjustments, but nothing material. So those were made by management as well. So with that, I just, like to point out always is, everybody would like to know how the general fund's looking as of June 30th, 2021. Your fund balance in the general fund was just shy of $17 million. And that was an increase for the year of about $8.4 million. So with that, I will open it up to any questions you might have related to the audit.
Are there any questions at this time from council? Seeing that there's none, you want to continue?
In summary, just that's a good point to, and thank you, Bob, to leave off on that directionally as we look at every fund in the city from a standpoint of revenues. Everything that we budget stems from revenues and available resources. That's trending the right direction. Our cash balances, our fund balances, the disciplined budgets, budgetary management that goes on at the department levels, all of that adds up as we are all directed from the city administrator. And cumulatively, on the one hand, we're very pleased with a final work product and no findings, clean audit, all of that. But we're most pleased with just the financial condition of the city that continues to improve.
Okay, seeing. May I take public comment on this item? Or are there any, it's presentation, right? Are there any public comment on this item?
There's nothing on Zoom.
Nothing on Zoom, is that what you said? I think you're
Okay.
okay.
I do
So-
have a comment. In regards to, so in 1 year, it was $8.4 million increase. And do we anticipate to see an increase this year?
We do anticipate to see an increase. Now, sometimes that is the result. So it's a result of a couple of major things. There's a lot of things that add up to it, but a handful really account for the whole, generally speaking. So sometimes it's the timing of capital projects. Those amount to big dollars. So if there have been delays just related to part shortages, labor, everything that we're experiencing that we'll talk a little bit about in mid-year. So that's part of it. The other is our fastest growing funding source, revenue source, and that's sales tax. And it continues to perform. We're now enjoying the full benefit of the transaction use tax that was voter approved. It was a great decision for the city. So we're seeing this trend over the last 6 years where it went from negative to this very solid position that, in our opinion, should continue. I mean, this is exactly where we want to be.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from council? Great. Seeing that there's none, we'll go on to the consent calendar.
Mayor, if we
Yep.
could have a motion to receive and file the audit.
Sure. Can I get a motion to receive and file?
I'll move Lopez.
Davis.
With the motion from Lopez and the second from Mayor Pro Tem Davis, City Clerk?
Yes, motion to receive and file fiscal year 2020-2021 government-wide annual financial report. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yeah.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Larios.
Yes.
Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendars are to be approved with one motion. Items may be removed from the consent calendar by any members of the council. Those items removed will be considered immediately after the consent calendar. Does council wish to pull any items from the consent calendar? No. Are there any public comments for the consent calendar here in person or on Zoom?
Nothing on Zoom.
Just a reminder, once again, if you would like to address the council on Zoom, please click the raise your hand button down at the bottom of your screen.
We'll give it a moment.
There are no raised hands on Zoom.
Thank you. Now may I have a motion for consent calendar items number 3 to 13?
I'll move items number 3 through 13.
With a motion from Councilmember Lopez and a second from Councilmember Davis, City Clerk.
Motion to approve the consent calendar. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Larios.
Yes.
Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now go on to new business. Agenda item number 14 is the fiscal year 2021-2022 mid-year financial update. Finance Director Williams will present the staff report.
Yes, good morning again, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you at this time for the opportunity to present for the review, evaluation, and consideration of our fiscal year 2021-22 mid-year update. For any who are listening in and not familiar, the fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30. So midpoint is December 31st. And it takes a little bit of time from that point because of timing of revenues. There's revenues that are in arrears that are dispersed, let's say, from the county and so forth, state sales tax, as well as making sure that we're capturing all the expenditures to as best possible, accurately reflect where we are midpoint. So that is the nature of this this morning. Please. Okay, and our agenda. Okay. So we will present trending data. So again, these are not concrete numbers the way the audited financials. Until we close the books at the end of the year, we're just taking a look at how things are trending. And that's the purpose, that's the objective of this exercise. We will look at budget to actual, the financial plan that was adopted April, May last year. for versus how we're doing. And this is going to be both for the general fund, revenues and expenditures, as well as our 4 enterprise funds, revenues and expenditures. We will look, as we always do, at cash and fund balance, our cash portfolio and where we stand, and present for the council's consideration some budget adjustment requests because of some unknown items or unforeseen items when we adopted the last budget, as well as various things that have changed in the funds. And then just a few editorial comments and opportunity for the council to ask any questions or provide any further direction. And as we're working our way through this, these are data tables, so there's a lot of information. Please feel free to stop the presentation, and it might be easier just to ask questions right then and there. Oops. Okay. So first up, we have a snapshot of our general fund at December 31st. And on the left-hand column, we have the adopted budget, just over 75 million in revenues. Now, that was an increase over the previous year, but there is included in that significant grant revenue for a major capital project. Salaries and benefits and M&O, the adopted budget, just shy of 65 million. That's the line below that. And as you can see, the capital projects is in excess of 11 million. So that's part of what it accounted for the revenues. Year to date, we are at 45%. And again, there's a timing of revenues that goes on. So property tax is dispersed by the county twice per year. Some of that isn't in at the time of this measurement, and we don't want to do too much estimating. We want to be sure, as well as sales tax is always a couple of months in arrears, but we see revenues trending as they should. M&O, maintenance operations, as well as salaries and benefits, you can see we're below budget at 43%. And some of that on the salaries and benefits side, if there's vacancies or things of that nature, but also it's just as mentioned before, the careful management of department budgets. And as far as capital, that's just a matter of timing. So we're trending as we should. You see there, we're 5.8 million to the good at midpoint. A couple of highlights. So we see sales tax right where it should be, just shy of 50%. And it is, and again, just per the most recent update from our analytics firm, it's very strong. It's very strong for us as a city, but as we look at the county as a whole, it is there's just a lot of good news in our business community in that respect. Utility users tax. This is, again, more good news on both the utility as well as the general fund side. It's at 61%, and that the primary driver for that, not exclusive, but primary, is light and power. So as you can see, businesses are engaged. Businesses are in full swing. Businesses are using power, and that drives that revenue source for the general fund. Franchise taxes, just a lot of activity from our operators. It's above expected. License and permits. We're just about at the year at midpoint, so it's terrific. And overall, year-to-date expenditures are at 37%. Again, that low number partly is just a timing of capital, which is on its way. Okay. The enterprise funds snapshot. So in this one, we have, you'll notice it's, we have the 4 different enterprise funds, as well as the cumulative total for VPU budgeted revenues and expenditures. So that is your leftmost column here. salaries benefit MNO, just like the general fund. So 261 was budgeted, 204 million in expenditures and 61 in capital. Now, where we are midpoint, as you can see, revenues are generally trending, cumulatively trending above what is expected at midpoint. And particularly notice electric and gas. Just great performance in business activities reflected in that. And then on the other hand, expenditures right at 50% total for the utility. Utility has been actually a little more active in their capital. Notice the 38 million. So that means that the funds, the bond funding that's available is being deployed. And that's exactly what we want. Sorry. Okay. So a couple of highlights. As we just noted, bond funds have been used in both electric and water. This is not just according to plan, but it's taking advantage of the very favorable conditions at the timing of those finances. So that whenever we can bond fund, especially for long-term capital, that's offsetting those maintenance and operations budgets. Electric and water funds are below 50% of budgeted expenditures, and Light and Power's at 50%. Revenues are at 50, just shy of 58%. Gas at 71%, and charges for services and water are right where we'd expect, just below 50%. Can you go to the next one? I think we skipped one, the pie chart. Sorry. Yeah, okay, thank you. Investment portfolio by fund. So what we see here in the table, we have our major sources. So the four VPU funds are represented in the VPU column. We have the general fund and the successor agency, which is reserved strictly for debt reserves. Now, these are stratified in unrestricted and restricted. So restricted, just as the name sounds, it's restricted for a specific purpose. So in the general fund, that would be, for instance, streets revenues. It's not to be used for any other purpose, and that's why it resides in that way. But otherwise, we have unrestricted fund balance, just as reported by the auditor, just shy of 17 million. VPU, we see pretty close to 200 million, which that informs us that we are well above the 180 days per city policy in terms of cash reserves. So we have that unusual position of cash. It bodes well with the rating agencies. It gives investors a lot of confidence in the utility. And of course, cash balances always provide a buffer in the event of uncertainties. And we are living through very volatile markets, and we're going to continue to. We're seeing cost escalations, as we'll comment on in just a minute. And that's what these cash reserves are there for. And the discipline to get these here, it just bodes well for the utility long term. And then finally, the pie chart is the same data by total, just distributed. And again, the majority resides with VPU.
Scott, can I add a couple of things? So I do want to caution City Council and advise the public on a couple of different things that are a threat to the utility, and they're volatile right now. And number one is the cost of a commodity, which is natural gas. So we are subject to the cost of natural gas, and that we have seen that it is rising over the last couple of months. We did project last year that natural gas would spike over $5, and it did. And we are not hedged. So in the past, we have been hedged against natural gas. So in doing the budgets for next year, we are seeing that the cost of the fuel is significant. And there could be a significant draw from either cash reserves and or a pass through to our customers in order to make up the difference between what we are projecting for natural gas to be at and what natural gas actually is bought at. So today we are trading north of $5, and I don't see that number going down anytime soon. So that's one thing I do want to caution City Council on. So and the public, so that they are aware of that. The second thing I want to discuss is the department heads understand that they have to work within their budgets. And we have some tremendous talent. We have tremendous department heads here that adhere to the budget process and really admire that. So to the comment that the council member Leticia Lopez said, that, do we expect, our revenues or our cash reserves to go up next year? Absolutely, we do. However, I do want to caution that, some of the decisions that we've made in the past, for example, going to LA County Fire, the sales tax, the special measures, which we're going to have to come back and make a decision on, how we're going to handle those special measures, and that'll be next year's election. Those are types of things that have really solidified and fortified what our general fund balance is able to accomplish in a short amount of time over the last 6 years. So without those special measures, without some of the things that we've been able to accomplish, we would just go backwards. So I just want to caution everyone that there's some tough times ahead. I know that everybody's looking at these cash balances saying, oh, wow, it's great, great, great. But it doesn't mean that we get to spend fruitfully. It means we have to be very diligent on how we spend money here and how transparent we are with the public. Because ultimately, our job here is to not make money for the city. We are here to be a transparent government agency that provides service and is transparent with our public, and we're public servants. That's what we're here to do, serve the public and make sure that they are fruitful, they are able to succeed as businesses.
And a term that you'll hear us use in the budget process is a structurally balanced budget. And everything that City Minister just described involves that, meaning ongoing and continuous expenditures are met by ongoing and continuous revenues. So where some of those revenues are sunsetting, they have to be addressed. But in the meantime, our job, the things that we can control internally, and as every one of us are directed to do, is to take a very disciplined approach to budget. And that just, it works out. It has been working out well year after year. So a couple of editorial comments here on both operations and economic. Don't be alarmed at that first bullet point, but yes, there are the cost of energy shocks, supply chain shocks, interest rate shocks, inventory shortages. Everybody's experiencing this. We see it night after night news. It is, it's been going increasing for a year, but we always have to be cautious and make sure that we're not getting caught up in noise, kind of signal versus noise. But we are seeing inflationary trends, and all of our businesses are experiencing it. And as we prepare this, we have just about a draft that's going to be presented next month. And we do see some cost escalations. That's just part of it. Fortunately, again, we have estimated revenues to meet that, but in the long term, it has to be addressed. So the adjustments. So we have a table of adjustments that we'll finish on, but these adjustments have sufficient fund balances per the audited financial statements. So these aren't estimates, these are concrete numbers as the opinion of our auditor. And a number of these, all of them were actually unforeseen at the time of this financial plan last year. Finally, as mentioned, there's a number, a cumulative result that add up to long-term savings. So we have the decision to contract city fire with the county. That proves to be a great decision, both operationally as well as in terms of fiscal responsibility. It continues to add savings. And you've heard us through a series of workshops discuss the long-term pension liabilities. And we are in that waiting period that we had brought forward. But in this summer, we will be bringing forward the actual issuance of the pension obligation bonds to level out those long-term liabilities, the debt service on those long-term liabilities. So again, these are all contributing factors. There's no one thing that's just going to solve the problems forever. This is just a continuous effort on the part of the city. These are recommended adjustments for the council's consideration. So and they are broken out by fund. So in the general fund, we have a number of costs that were unknown at the time of the budget. These relate to personnel, special election. There have been emergency repairs. There's vehicle replacement, additional janitorial, and environmental costs. So what we are recommending is the $660,000 that would be added to the current year budget to bring it in alignment with our estimated costs by the end of the fiscal year. So of course, there's adequate fund balance existing, but there's also projected. It was asked earlier, are we going to finish the good? And yes, we are. I believe that. We're trending that way. So there's more than adequate fund balance for that. Water. This is the direct result of inflation and cost escalation. These are just added costs for treatment. The light and power, of course, bond interest, because the Malberg was only in the planning stages, so there was no way to budget for debt service. The funds are there. It just has to, because it was a shift, of course, from PPTA to interest. And so it just needs to be budgeted. And there were some legal costs that were built in there as well. Gas, there are some added costs as well as VPU credit, and that is in the amount of $733,000. And then some infrastructure upgrades. The council will recall there's some changes going on with our fiber optic utility. And the long-term plan is to increase the infrastructure to address the business needs. We have some very large businesses looking to come into town, and this is a distinctive need that they have, as well as increasing the customer base. So cumulative across all of the funds is 4.5 million recommended. The majority of that from the utilities and just going to bond interest. So that concludes our presentation. Staff are available for questions, comments from the council, further direction from the council, as well as consideration for the recommended adjustments.
Are there any questions from council at this time? Are there any comments on Zoom? We'll give
There-
you a moment and let them raise their hand.
No raised hands on Zoom.
Are there any public comment? No, seeing that there isn't any, may I have a motion from council?
I'll move. Lopez.
May I have a second?
I'll second Lario.
With a motion from Councilmember Lopez and a second from Councilmember Larios, City Clerk.
The motion is to find the approved action exempt under CEQA and to adopt resolution number 2022-05, approving mid-year budget appropriations and amending the annual operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2021-22. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Larios.
Yes.
Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 15 is the reimbursement agreement for shelter beds within the Salvation Army Bell Shelter. City Administrator Bandino will present the report.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. As you are aware, an increasing population of individuals experiencing homelessness is a challenge currently faced by many cities nationwide. Locally, this is an especially important issue for the cities in Los Angeles County, where roughly 43% of the state's unhoused population resides. Currently, Vernon is served by the Regional Continuum of Care System that is managed by the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, known as LAHSA. In Vernon, the police department is largely responsible for engaging the unhoused and offering services and resources through the LAHSA. In order to legally execute sanitation cleanups and maintain public health and safety, city staff need to know when and how many shelter beds are available and have the resources to be able to provide shelter options to unhoused individuals that are affected by sanitation cleanups. The proposed reimbursement agreement with the LCA1 cities of Bell Gardens, Commerce, Cudahy, Huntington Park, Maywood, and Southgate is a pilot program that would ensure that Vernon has access to a specific number of beds at the Salvation Army Bell Shelter Complex. The agreement provides for 4 shelter beds per the LCA1 city and 4 shared public safety shelter beds. The city's participation in the pilot program is currently estimated at $62,415.50, which is an equal share of the program divided by 8 participating cities. Staff has requested approval of the range up to $100,000 should the city's equal share increase due to the withdrawal of other participants. It should be noted that the total costs of the pilot program were greatly reduced due to the grant awarded by the Gateway Cities Council of Governments for this purpose. Due to the unpredictability and of the demand of each city and the prospective financial feasibility, the agreement includes the option for LCA1 city to terminate for convenience with 30 days notice after June 30th, 2022. Additionally, the pilot program is unsuccessful in addressing the needs of the region. The program itself may be terminated. So this concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council at this time?
So individuals that are within our city, we refer them to the beds, the shelter beds, and they have to agree to go? Is that how?
We would have beds available for any individuals that would need to be housed, and they would have to agree, but yes, we would take them to the shelter, but Vernon would be allocated 4 beds, I believe, every night.
And are the beds that we're being allocated, are they evenly distributed by the cities that are going to participate in the program?
Angela, they're all individually. So every city has an equal share of beds.
Okay. Now, where's the location? Well,
It's the Salvation Army.
Okay.
A shelter that's in the city of Bell. So it's not affiliated with the city of Bell. It's just located in the city of Bell.
okay.
Have we currently sent people there?
Chief, you want to talk on that? Chief's handling the coordination of this.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. Yeah, that we actually do utilize them currently. I think this is a great tool for the police department, obviously charged with public safety. You know, I look at it from the inside out, both for our city, our neighboring cities in the county. And I think it's a great partnership. I know it's a pilot program, so we'll see if it works out, but we currently do refer people to the Bell Shelter. The problem that we tend to have is that The people that we refer over there don't like to abide by their rules. So they end up back on our streets, but we're working through that.
Great. Are there any further questions from council?
Do they offer like mental health services there, or is it just basically a shelter?
So yes, there are wraparound services provided.
Okay. And is there like a certain time limit that they can stay there before, or are they referred to long-term housing or?
So what we were told is, the services depend on each case is kind of unique. And so I don't have a firm yes or no on that, but we can get some more information.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I agree.
Are there any public comment on this item and via Zoom? Just a reminder to raise your hand.
There are no raised hands.
Are there any public comment in council chambers? Seeing that there's none, and council, do you have any further questions? Seeing that there's none, may I have a motion for this item?
I'll move Lopez.
May I have a second?
I'll second Lario.
With the motion from Councilmember Lopez and a second from Councilmember Larios. City Clerk?
Motion to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a reimbursement agreement for shelter beds within the Salvation Army Bell Shelter. Mayor Ibarra.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Larios.
Yes.
Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 16 is the change order number 16 to the amended and restated service agreement with Siemens Energy Inc. Public Utilities General Manager Alamu will present the staff report.
Thank you. Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Finally, it's good to see everybody, free and relaxed environment. The item before you is a change order to an existing or assigned contract. Basically, Siemens Energy provides the upkeep services for MBGS, the power plant just acquired under what's called a long-term service agreement, LTSA. The agenda before you, which is a change order, has some changes to the underlying contract. And I'm going to ask Rich Olson, Assistant General Manager, to come and make the detailed presentation.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present this change order and request for a blanket contract on behalf of VPU. As Abraham said, I'm Rich Olson, Assistant GM of Generation and Operations. So VPU staff recommends approval of change order 16 to the Siemens amended and restated services agreement. Siemens Energy has provided long-term maintenance and repair services to the Malberg generating station for the turbines, generators, and associated systems pretty much since the station was commissioned. There are two main drivers in recommending this change order 16. First, service agreement was written with Bison, California as the counterparty and crafted to reflect the tempo, guarantees, and risk associated with the power purchase and tolling agreement between Bison and the city. The PPTA was canceled upon sale of Malberg to the city. With cancellation of the PPTA, the services agreement no longer really reflects the best option for the city. The change order terminates the existing contract a few years early. It cancels the scheduled payments of the contract that are beyond 2024 and provides a discount to the remaining scheduled payments in the contract. And this frees the city to craft the maintenance position of its own going forward. Secondly, considering the state of future maintenance and repair, Siemens is no longer the sole source provider of these services, and it is expected the city can benefit from the market competition and through the city's competitive process in retaining a new contract either with Siemens or competition. The second part of this is the request for a blanket purchase order. Staff is recommending approval of a blanket request for $450,000, primarily to allow a reduced transactional time frame should Siemens identify the need to replace degraded components during the May 2022 major outage. So during this outage, they're going to open up the turbines. We have two turbines that they're going to open up. And if we need parts, we have to transact pretty quickly. Not all these parts are within the United States. Some of them are housed in Finspång, Sweden, some other places in the world. So we have a limited time to purchase parts. Most parts, typically these parts are 6 figures or higher. And with 2 turbines being opened up, we can quickly need to transact. We're also backing up this outage to June 1st, which is the beginning of the California Independent System Operators summer period. If we extend into June 1st, we could be subject to punitive charges from Cal ISO for not meeting the outage. So having the blanket available doesn't mean we're going to spend it. It's just we would like to get some pre-approval and then, of course, go through the appropriate chain of command to approve a purchase. But we need to be able to transact to minimize delays due to shipping and customs and anything else that could occur. That's all I have. We recommend you approve both of these. If I can answer any questions for you or comments or address anything.
Sorry, I have a question. Are you guys anticipating cost increases just due with the rising cost going forward and you're buying from overseas, so you have manufacturing delays and back orders?
Yes, but not necessarily for those reasons. There is an escalation formula that's in the contract. So the escalation is already locked in for specific parts. So not related for this outage. And escalation is also locked in for the next few years based on a price deflator. So come February, March next year, when the escalation formula is implemented, depending on what's happened with the specific escalation factor, yes, we're going to see an increase. What that is, I don't know.
Okay, but anything on this blanket PO? That's what I'm referring to with.
On the blanket,
Yeah.
on the blanket, no, because the $450,000 is just a placeholder. So that would be the maximum we would ask to spend without coming back to council. In the past, we've not reached that amount on a major outage.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? No, seeing that there's none, are there any public comments on this item? How about on Zoom?
There are no raised hands on Zoom.
Just a reminder to raise your hand. Find the raise hand button. Yep.
No.
Seeing that there's none, we'll go on to a motion. May I have a motion for this item?
I'll move Lopez.
May I have a second?
Davis.
With a motion from Councilmember Lopez and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Davis, City Clerk.
To find the action exempt under CEQA, approve and authorize city administrator to execute change order number 16 to the amended and restated services agreement with Siemens Energy and approve the issuance of a blanket purchase contract. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Larios.
Yes.
Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 17, City Council appointments to outside agencies. City Clerk Pope will present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and honorable council members. The item before you is appointment to the Southern California Association of Governments. In the past, we've made these appointments during our regular outside agency appointments. SCAG has modified their practices with the Fair Political Practices Commission and only wants appointments for those attending the annual conference, which will be held in May this year. We had previously appointed Councilmember Lopez as the delegate and Mayor Pro Tem Davis was the alternate. Neither of those two members can attend the conference, and I don't believe any other council members will be attending the conference. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention in case anyone decides to attend. We can bring this item back. There is a statement of economic interest, Form 700 filing obligation for those that do attend. So we'll just make sure to bring this back if anyone decides to go to the conference. But at this point, we can table the item.
Great, thank you. We'll table item number 17. Do you need a vote on that or just tabling it? Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item number 18 is the labor and material contract with Petrelli Electric to provide high voltage electric system service maintenance and utilities to support Public Utilities. General Manager Alamu will present the staff report.
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor and council members. This is the other, service agreement that, that ensures the house and the utility, taking care of the distribution system. So VPU has, this ongoing need for distribution system construction and maintenance services. The agenda item before you is a labor and material contract with Petroleum Electric to provide high voltage electric services and maintenance and utility supports. I invite Todd Dusenberry to make the detailed presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham. Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present VPU's recommendation on contract services for maintenance and utility support on the high voltage electric system. When you consider Vernon's electric system, it is predominantly made up of high voltage primary lines to support our large commercial and industrial customer base. Most utility electric systems have a balance between high voltage primary and less dangerous, less complex secondary lines to work on. Our configuration requires the services of highly skilled and seasoned line crews. As a result, VPU has historically contracted the construction and maintenance of its electric system and has utilized in-house staff for engineering and operational services. Through a competitive RFQ and RFP process, VPU has identified Petroleum Electric as having the capability, demonstrated competence, and a cost-effective approach to design electric and fiber optic system elements, conduct critical CPUC required inspections and maintenance tasks, and construct our essential capital projects. The staff report provided details the comprehensive process and criteria for contractor selection, the proposed contract structure, and the reasons why services of Petroleum Electric best meet VPU's needs. Petroleum Electric is the current contracted provider and has been for a number of years. They have notable qualifications, and we feel it important to highlight these to City Council. Petroleum provides the services that help us achieve our guiding principles in the utility. Reliability. VPU with Petroleum's construction and maintenance team proactively work toward keeping our customers up and running at all times, many of which run 24/7 operations. What makes Petroleum different than other contractors is their willingness to work distribution circuits hot or energized, which helps significantly minimize downtime for a commercial and industrial customer base during electric system maintenance. On average, across the board, Vernon customers experience less than one outage per year. Responsiveness and restoration. When customers do experience an outage, Petroleum is available day and night and has crews living in close proximity to the city. This is a big reason VPU can efficiently troubleshoot issues, quickly restore power, and promptly respond to emergencies, customer needs, and requests after hours and on weekends. As a brief example, it was reported on the news yesterday that a car hit pole on PCH at midnight. The road was closed in both directions and remained closed until 9 a.m. In contrast, yesterday, VPU experienced an outage caused by a car hit pole on Downey Road, resulting in de-energized lines down at 10:23 a.m. Because Petroleum's crews are on site or nearby, VPU was able to promptly restore power to all but one customer by 10:43 a.m. while lines were being reconstructed. There are physical and logistical differences between this system and others, but our response level is what sets Vernon apart. Petroleum's knowledge of the electric and fiber systems result in prompt, skillful, safe recovery from interruptions. Petroleum also has the resources to quickly scale up to provide additional crews and equipment during catastrophic events. Range. Petroleum supplies a wide range of services that many contractors are not prepared to offer in-house. These include inspection, maintenance, repair and replacement of utility poles, power lines, substation equipment, fiber optic infrastructure, metering components, and grid relay protection. In addition, Petroleum supplies system design and service planning to supplement VPU staff and support Vernon customers. Cost effective. Finally, Petroleum Electric understands our commitment to customer competitiveness, proposing the most affordable rates and the most economical approach to performing this work. These high voltage services contribute to VPU's recognition as an RP3 diamond level utility built on reliability, safety, and system improvement. Vernon customers stand to benefit from these responsive services. And with that, VPU recommends the approval of the labor and materials contract with Petrelli Electric, and we're available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council?
I have a question. How long has Petrelli been doing business with Vernon?
So Petrelli's been involved with the city since the early 2000s. I began in 2007 and Petrelli was here performing services for us. We went through a competitive process in 2012 prior to the reforms. And there were two responders to that request for proposal. It was Hampton Tedder and Petrelli Electric. And Petrelli was the much more affordable option with great knowledge of the city. And so in 2012, we selected Petrelli Electric. The contract terms were a 5-year contract with a 5-year mutual extension. So both parties in 2017 decided to mutually extend the arrangement. And so that contract is up in June of this year. So that's why we're coming to you now as the next iteration of that agreement. Sure.
Are there any further questions from council? Seeing that there's none, are there any public comment?
Thank you.
Are there any public comment on Zoom? We'll give them a minute to raise their hand.
There are no raised hands.
Thank you. May I have a motion from item number 18? With the second?
I'll second.
With a
Lopez.
motion from Mayor Pro Tem Davis and a second from Councilmember Lopez, City Clerk.
To approve and authorize the city administrator to execute a labor and materials contract with Petrelli Electric and find that is commercially unreasonable to rebid the proposed contract. Mayor Ibarra,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Larios. Councilmember Merlo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go on to oral
Thank you.
reports. City Administrator Fandino, do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor, I do. So some events that are happening this week. Tomorrow, we have a gas rate adjustment meeting with the public. The city's hosting a community stakeholder meeting to discuss the Vernon Public Utilities recent comprehensive gas cost study and rate review. VPU has plans to recommend a gas rate adjustment to become effective July 2022. To date, VPU has never made a rate adjustment to the gas. We are inviting Vernon businesses to join and participate in the discussion. Participants may attend in person in the council chamber or via Zoom. Also, we have a movement to beautify Vernon with trees. So the tree people are coming. So Tree People is teaming up with the city of Vernon to plant and care for climate appropriate trees throughout the city. So if you notice throughout the city, there's many different areas where trees have been removed or they're non-existent or they've died out. And our goal here is to beautify the city and bring in more vegetation, trees, and so forth. So Vernon businesses and residents, please join us for a fun and interactive community discussion about planning, planting, and benefits of trees in our community, cleaner air, increased shade, and beautification. All attendees who RSVP and attend the meeting will receive a free fruit or shade tree. So participants may attend in person in the council chambers or via Zoom.
What
And
date?
it's been between 2 and 3:30 p.m.
What date?
I believe it's tomorrow.
What time is the first event, the gas rate adjustment meeting?
10:30 to 11:30.
Okay.
So come get your trees.
Any further? That's it?
That's all I have.
Are we gonna announce our Easter spring extravaganza?
We do. We have the Easter event, which will the spring event. You know the date exactly? It's going to be Thursday, March 23rd. It'll be here at City Hall. It'll be in the years past, we've gone to residents with the Easter Bunny, but this year we're going to invite the residents to come here to City Hall. So it'll be the Thursday, March 24th. And it'll begin at 5 p.m. And I have to find I think we already have a volunteer for the Easter Bunny. Well, the Easter Bunny is coming, obviously.
I'm glad that the children are not listening to this. Okay, seeing that there's no oral comment from staff, any further oral comments, City Council, do you have any reports to report out? Seeing that there are none, we'll now go on to closed session for agenda items number 19 and 20. Please note, closed session will be relocated to conference room 3. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Be safe.